We got a few things here that we can cover, I guess. One of the things I'd like to talk about is, every month we try to get a little update on what the fishing's been like here in this area anyway, or wherever any of the members have been. So, and we got a pretty good cross section of folks here tonight that could tell us a little bit about fishing. So why don't we look at that? Who wants to tell us what they did for fishing here this last month? Dave DeWalt.
Sure thing. Well, the last 2-3 weeks has been impossible, but just before the wind came up, I had something I hadn't seen in 13 years out here on Sanibel. I ran into a big school of bluefish, probably in the 2 to 4 pound range, pounding on the bait, and just had a ball with them for about an hour. And then they moved on, and that was the last I saw of them. But I don't know if anyone else ran into them out there, but it was really fun.
Yep. I heard there's been some good stuff out there this last month, 6 weeks almost.
Yeah.
Gary Long, how about you, Gary?
There you go.
You got it.
The fishing in Clam Bayou has been really pretty good, but I don't have any idea what it's like now after this storm. But prior to that, I was getting double-digit snook most of the times I went out. 2 or 3 redfish and black drum occasionally. So decent fishing back in the bayou for sure, but I don't know now. I mean, everything's changed after yesterday.
Yep.
I'm hoping it's open to the Gulf, but I doubt it. The wind was in the wrong direction. You know,
yeah, I think so.
You know what it's like when it's up. That's great.
That's right.
Chris Coyle.
Yeah, Chris.
I had the fortune to go fishing with both these guys, Dave and Gary, last month. And we'd caught some fish here and there, mostly over on the other side, the Pine Island side, seemed to be holding more fish. And had a series, because we had so much rain, a series of kind of boat issues with batteries worn way down or whatever. And then just about a week ago, I had a pier guy out to look at my pier, and while we're standing there, the pier collapses underneath. And Gary's familiar with it because he almost collapsed 3 or 4 days before that. Well, fortunately, we both didn't get thrown off the pier because it went about a 45-degree angle. But, that was pretty tough. In the days right prior to that, and it was actually probably based upon Dave's comment about the bluefish. We went offshore out of redfish, and we ran into huge schools, and near Tween Waters, basically from there down to Blind Pass, bluefish, Spanish mackerel, and what was it, Dave?
Oh.
But in any event, as fast as you could throw it out, they were just streaking toward it. It was pretty exciting stuff. I haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah.
I've heard that there have been a fair number of albies out there too, but again, we got limited days that we went out. Saw a couple of triple tail, but not that many. But I think the fishing is going to be better when things calm down here. And there's still some bait in the creek in the bayou, Dinkins Bayou. It's got a lot of bait in it right now. Today, which, we had the highest water, just like somebody else mentioned, we had the highest water we've had since we've been here in 15 years. And,
I think once this clears up, it should be decent. It should be decent. Who else has any stories?
I'll take a chance.
Good. Sounds
Well,
like
I haven't done that much fishing. I was on the injured reserve list for a few weeks, as some of you know, but I did have a couple good days offshore on the Albies. It was one of those days where you didn't know where to cast, I actually, for the first time since I've lived here, I caught albies in 9 and 12 feet of water. I also, if you look to your right, there will be tarpon. If you look to your left, there would be albies. It's the first time I've ever seen albies in the bait with tarpon. But I had one day where I landed 7 and another day where I landed 4 albies. That was before I went on the IRS, and now I fished some backcountry, and I can say that if you're willing to take the time and play the tides right, if you can get to a good creek on the last part of the incoming or the first part of the outgoing, I've been very, very successful with redfish. And then Pete and I fished with Captain Blake the other day, and we caught a lot of snook. And the best thing that we saw, and I think Pete will agree with this is the first time that we saw snook that were under 14 inches. We saw 2 year classes that we thought were missing. We got some nicer snook, but it was really nice to see small snook that we hadn't seen in a while. That's my report.
How about anybody else? Anybody else been fishing? Well, I can give you a little update on what I've done. I still fish. I missed yesterday. I was out Tuesday between major squalls, but and caught 2 puffers. So there were fish, but it was just tough to get to them. Actually, this last month has been really good. There seems to be a lot of snook on the inside. This is the first year that for 4 mornings in a row, I was sight casting snook on the that were busting bait and swirling on bait along the toll booth flat. And I was standing in shin deep water and casting to the bank. These fish were in 6 to 10 inches of water. And it was an interesting 4 mornings catching those fish. And some of them were good fish. Some of these fish were 26 to 28, almost 30 inches. So they were nice fish. But there's been a lot of bait there, and the bait has been right up tight against that beach. And I think that's what pulled them in. And along with those snook, there's been pretty good numbers of reds in there, some small jacks, and a few pompano, and a bunch of trout. And it's not been unusual to be getting 30 to 50 fish a morning out there. I don't know what's happened now since this weather, but maybe tomorrow, if this wind does switch north, I'll go out and give it a shot and see what's there. But it's been good. I'm very happy with what I've seen in the way of trout this year. This last week, I surpassed 1,100 trout that I've caught this year, which totally blows me away because that's almost the number of trout I caught in the previous 2 years total. So it's amazing. There are fish here. Still not seeing a lot of the little guys, but I'm assuming that they were productive this year and last year. So we should see a pretty good trout fishery here this next couple of years, unless all this fresh water kills the grass in the next couple weeks or couple months. But things are looking good. So anybody that wants to fish, as soon as this weather slows down and gets better, it's a time to do it, because there's a lot of fish moving. There's a lot of fish on the beach, and a lot of fish on the inside too. So wherever you can get to, there'll be fish. Tom, can you put us all back to the only a couple things I'd like to talk about here too. January, we're going to have our annual meeting. Well, let's go back even further than that. With the COVID situation, it's really questionable, and it's getting to be even more so now with the spike across the country, and with all the snowbirds that want to leave where they were to come down here, it's going to make it even more questionable for what's going to happen in Florida. And we originally anticipated not having anything but virtual meetings for the rest of the year. And I think and rest of the year, I mean, through May of 2021. I don't see this happening much before that where we could get people together. So we're going to continue these meetings. As you can see, this is our second one. We're getting a little better at it. I think we can manage it. We need to get the word out more to people so that we can get more folks here. I'll let you guys decide if it's been a worthwhile meeting, but I think it was pretty good tonight. We learned a lot of stuff from both of the speakers tonight. Hopefully at some stage, you know, we'll have an annual meeting. It's probably going to be a virtual meeting and we're just going to vote. We're probably going to do that. We'll set up an election where it's all email type stuff. We've got to elect all new officers or all new board members. The board elects the officers once the board members are selected. We have 11 board members. We will have at least 2 vacancies and possibly 3 by January. So there is space for folks to become members. If they so would like to jump aboard, we'd welcome it. So anybody and any new members, don't feel shy. I've got names of 2 or 3 people right now that are interested in being on the board. But I'd like to get feelers out to more of the board, or more of the general members that would like to be part of the board and carry this organization into the future a bit. Also want to go back again to the dues. We did increase the dues to $25 for this next year. It's getting to be where, you know, we've got to get something in here. Hopefully we can get people to re-up and to pay dues. It's a minimal amount, and I still think that there's some very positive stuff you can get out of being a member of the club. And if you're living down here or come down here, just the discounts at Norm's, Whitney's, 239 Flies is worth your effort. And when you look at the stuff that Chouinard's threw out there, there's a lot of stuff available. So if you're looking for stuff, keep that in mind. There's discounts specifically to Sanibel FlyFishing members. So one good purchase of a rod and reel is, the discount is probably 4 or 5 years worth of dues. So keep that in mind as you're floating around. And Margot, when you're looking for Christmas presents for Gary,
He's been writing them down.
I have a list.
I figured he'd have a big list. I hope everybody else that was involved tonight did the same thing, because there are some neat things out there. So does anybody else have anything else? I think I'm going to personally follow up on this, on some of the suggestions Daniel made on how the club can stay more actively involved in this. And I think we're going to be putting out more email blasts to the membership, and particularly the idea of getting with your local senators, U.S. senators and congressional delegates from the other states. I think, you know, I'm always in contact with my rep or congressman in Michigan. I've sent him a dozen messages over this last year, even though he's in another party from where I do. That appears as though you can convince some of those people to do some things. And I know he supported some of these, the Everglades funding stuff. And I think that's going to be really key. And the way Daniel and the crew is approaching it, if you can get 40 or 50 states that aren't associated with Alaska or Florida, where people can relate to the value that they see to going to those two places. It'll make a big difference on how they look at something as far away as the Everglades when you're talking about Michigan or upstate New York. So,
Yeah, and on that note, Pete, your local congressional rep is usually pretty open to an in-person meeting when you're in district with them. Obviously,
Right.
now with COVID, things are a little bit weird, but you know, when they're home, they usually have offices. If you reach out to their office, they'll usually set up a 10-minute appointment for you to go in and explain it. And I think it definitely, if you have the time, it definitely pays off to do that.
yes. And a 10-minute meeting with your local congressman, you can't believe how much of an impact that makes to them as compared to 100 emails or form letters that they get.
Yeah,
You sitting across the table face to face to them, they're looking at somebody that's going to vote for them or not. And it's a much more impact on how they think when a vote comes up.
would it be possible for the club to distribute the calls to action as they show up, either from Captains or Everglades Trust?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I've made notes here. I think that's what we're going to do. We'll try to do that whenever they come up. We'll try to stay up on top of them
Yeah,
and get that out, and just to try to keep that interest generated out there among our members. Because we still do have 100 pretty solid members. We've got an email list of about 300 people.
400.
Yeah, 400. So we should be able to get the word out and get a little bit of action out there. So every little bit helps.
Do our part.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? It's 7:30. It's still early in the night. I hate to break off. We usually go way late, but I think it's been a productive meeting. And I didn't get home from Norm's shop until about 20 to 6. So I could use a little break and a little bit of food.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys are happy, I thank you all for participating. Keep an eye on your emails. Keep in touch with each other. I'm sure more and more of you are going to be coming down this way.
yeah.
And maybe we can get together and fish 6 feet apart on the beach someday. Okay.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks,
Good night,
Paul.
everybody. Thanks
See ya.
Daniel,
again.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Daniel.
Pete.
Thanks, Daniel.